Sorry, I didn't mean to cough in the beginning of the video there. Hi, Marisol. Let me give you some feedback here on your scene. It has improved a lot. I'm glad you opened up the spaces. Do be careful when making cushions and stuff. And I mentioned this the last video I gave you was try to keep it nice and clean and simple. And what I do a lot of times when I build structures, I keep it as a box. Like your chair here is awesome. This actually is super simple. It's mainly quadded, and there's a little bit of pushing through the polys. You just push those forward, you should be fine. But for the most part, yeah, keep it really simple. Now, these guys need some work. Now, these cabinets, I'm not really sure how that cabinet would function, because you would just be like, if you're recording or you have tapes or DVDs, you would slide it in there. Let me show you how to make a curio cabinet. I know you were working on one before and you were having a hard time trying to figure it out. Don't get too caught up with the details. I'm okay if you're a little bit off model, if it's not exactly what you planned. Maybe you found something that was cooler. That's fine with me. But let me show you how you can make a real simple one real fast. I'm going to scale this up a little bit. This will be the first beginning of our curio cabinet. I'm going to keep it kind of thin. This will be like a little bit thinner than normal. I'm going to extrude that. Grab the widget, click on one of the cubes, and scale this down. Sorry if I talk a little bit funny. Still a little recovering from being sick. And I extrude that once. Now be careful how you extrude. Make sure you, when you do extrude and say you did too many, make sure you hit Control Z. Some people will leave this on, go get a cup of coffee, come back, and forget they have another active extrude, and you have a face within a face within a face, with a lot of you guys have run into. I'm going to extrude one more time. I'm going to push that back. And there we have the beginning of our cabinet. Now we don't want to go too far. We'll pass through things. And if we need to make this a little bit deeper, we can by simply selecting that, hit the W key, move that back. And then I can move this back a little bit too to give it a little more life to it. Now if you want to bevel it, you can. Now the problem with beveling, sometimes you get like the extra 5 side. Not always easy to unwrap with that. But we can select all the way across here on the edge. And if we want, we can just grab all of our edges, like, and bevel all of them, which would be the easiest, because then you can actually see what the shape looks like. So I'm going to grab all the edges on this guy, all of them, and then I'm going to bevel. So we're going to go to our bevel tool, and they do have moved things around a little bit, which is goofy, but underneath our edit mesh, we should be able to find our bevel. Open this up, and we're going to do segments of 3, which are logical. We'll hit apply. And this actually turns out pretty nice. And this gives you kind of that modern. If you want it to look ancient, that's tricky. You'd have to put some sort of designs here. You can just do some random polygons and make it look like it's carved wood. But this gives us more of a modern look. I simply beveled that. Look how nice that came out. It's very realistic. It makes kind of sense. Making shelves is super easy. Now you don't have to bevel shelves. Shelves typically are not beveled. They're pretty straightforward, hard-edged, so things don't fall off. Open this up a little bit. Now I just made a quick shelf. Move that in. Now we want to be careful not to go too far, so we'll just do an R key and scale that back a little bit. I'll go a little bit farther than normal, so that when I move him over, he fits into play. And I'll right click, go to faces, grab this, and pull that out. Object mode, Control D, move that down, Control D, move that up, Control D, and whatever else you want to do. Maybe this is a, oops, maybe this is a smaller shelf or something at the very bottom. Whatever works. And there we go, we have the beginning of that. And then we can actually make the middle of it like a door for it if we wanted. And to make the door, what we can do is cheat a little bit. So watch this. This is an old trick I used to do. Say we need a door, we need to make it functional, makes sense. I'll do Control D, move that out, grab a face here, and go to extract. So we're going to extract this guy. Why are we extracting this dude? Is we're going to remove it from our area. Let me see if they moved extract. They might have. Hopefully not. It used to be under mesh. And So it's under mesh. It's at the very bottom here. So we'll do extract. They used to have it over there under mesh, but it's now under edit mesh, excuse me, I should say. With that extracted, we'll go to object mode, grab this face. I'm going to do modify center pivot. It needs new coordinates because it's been removed. And the W key. And then now we, believe it or not, have the beginning of our door. And that'll make it easy because then you know exactly that this fits in there. And I just cheated a little bit. I'll move this guy out. Now if you want to make sure he's in the middle, a lot of times what you can do is just make a edge loop cut right here, right in the middle of this guy. Excuse me. I'm going to speed this up. We're going to make this kind of futuristic looking, kind of what you want to go for. So I'll go to our multi-cut tool, and I'll cut it right at the edge, and I'll go down and see if we can cut in the middle. And we'll do this. It's really not toddler friendly. We'll do a cut down here. Kid could hurt himself. So we did like a futuristic type of opening there for the door. And you don't even have to have it open in our case. You can make it transparent, and I'll show you how to do that real quick. But let's make it look like it actually has some properties to it, so it looks like it's lifted off the surface. So we could turn off keep faces together. In this case I'm not going to, just to speed it up and not to confuse you. I'll just extrude them separately and eyeball it. That's fine. And I'll bevel or do a little homegrown bevel with this a little bit. Bevel that in. And these guys get a little trickier when it comes to beveling. Just the way they're shaped. I just beveled him a little bit there too. So it looks kind of like asymmetrical, futuristic, kind of art cabinet, whatever you want to call it. So now what we can do is just add another material to it. We'll do a blend, and we'll make it semi-transparent. And then we can add some handles to it if we want to, and those would be really simple. And there we have a futuristic cabinet. And if it doesn't quite fit, now you'll notice we beveled it, and also it was coming from the back. It should have technically fit, but the thing is I think I forgot to get the other sides. But that's okay because glass doors don't just sit there, right? They actually have frame for them. So we can cheat a little bit. And we're going to go in here, and we're going to extract that back again by duplicating this. Control D. And I'm going to go in here and grab the face. And I'm going to go Shift, select this guy, and double click. Oh, I'm going to make sure I do that correctly. We'll do this first. It doesn't want to do that. It wants to do it because it's a hard angle, because it doesn't understand it. Maya needs help sometimes. He doesn't quite understand the logic of our world. Those hard angles always confuse it. So all I'm doing is grabbing these edges, including the corners, the very little corners there. We really don't need the back. I'm going to just deselect this so it's less confusing. Grab this guy here, and him, and all I'm doing is making a border for our cabinet. That is all I'm doing. So now I'll extract that. So with that extracted, move that away. We'll delete it if we don't need it. We'll grab this guy in object mode, and I can extrude him. So I'll do extrude, and I'll pull him out this way. Give a little thickness to it, almost like a border there. And we'll remove it back a little bit and do Control Z for a second. And I'm going to actually do this in object mode. So remember, this little widget will switch you from object to world. And I'll move this a little bit back this way. And then even though it's black, the reason why it's a normals get flipped sometimes. So we'll just go to mesh display, and we'll say reverse, and you'll now see it isn't black anymore. And we'll move this back, and there we can have like the framework for our door, which we're going to scale down. Hit the R key, scale it down. And if it isn't perfect, let me hit the F key real quick here. It isn't perfect because our doors, you know, they're a little bit different. You can play with it a little bit, and I'll show you how. So I'll hit the W key, put this into place. There we go. And then from here, we can thicken out the interior edges. And again, I'm giving you some ideas. You don't have to do yours like mine. I'm just trying to show you some form and function, some cool things that you can do. And hit the R key, and then now we'll scale that in to fill the rest of that. And there you go. Look at that. We have a frame. We have our windows for our stuff, and it's kind of futuristic, and almost the beveled edges almost give it almost a kind of a combination of futuristic and ancient, I guess. Not really too much ancient, but I mean, there's not a lot of ancient curio cabinets, so you got to play with things a little bit. So let's go ahead and unwrap the rest of your stuff here. I've hit the 6 key. Make sure that all this stuff is UV unwrapped according to my last video I gave you. For making a plant, it's a lot easier than you think it is, and we can keep it pretty simple from what you have. Yours, unfortunately, they intersect with each other. They don't look like a believable plant. This looks like maybe some polys intersecting with each other. So what we can do is we can cheat a little bit here, and I'll keep it. You always want to keep it kind of simple. There's a couple ways we can extrude on a path. I'm not going to do this for this particular example. What we are going to do is I'm going to scale this up a little bit. Move this up, and we have the beginning of our root of our plant. I'm going to add some divisions on the height, like we'll do 12. And these 12 divisions on the height allow us to play with this, and we can extrude on a path. But you know, again, I don't want to confuse you too much. Let's hit the space bar. Let's try this tool, which I showed a while back, and we'll do the animation deformations. We'll do lattice, and the lattice points, we can go in here and kind of shape our plant a little bit to what we want. Now again, we're limited on our size of things, and we can even bend it a little bit. So I got a little bit start of a plant here, and I can taper this at the top. Hit the R key, just grab the deal here, so make it a little more tapered, make this a little more tapered, so it's a little more believable type of plant structure. And I'll go in here and go to object mode. I'm going to grab the guy himself without the lattice, Control D, hit the W key, move it over. And if I need to bend this root of the plant a little bit more, I can. And I'll use the same set of tools. We'll go in Animation Deformer, but this time we're going to go to open the Full Deformer menu, and we're going to go to the Nonlinear, and we're going to do the same thing we did with the couch. We're going to bend this a little bit. So with that open, I'm going to click on Curvature, and I can bend this to look a little bit more believable like a plant. Oh, wrong button. And on the low bound, I will keep that straight. You can just middle mouse drag is all I'm doing for this, keeping it straight. And the cool thing about this is you can make a couple deformers if you want to, or do another lattice. So if you don't want your plant to be completely straight, you can do that. So now with this set in, I'm going to show you a couple things you can do. Is we're going to make a simple plane, kind of what you did, and we're going to divide it up. I'm going to 2, and you wanted to keep it simple in the beginning, 2 and 2. And I'm cool if you guys keep your plants really simple, but just make them believable. And I can even weld that to a point by grabbing all these and merge the center if I wanted, or just grab the tip one and then do that to give that point. I'll scale this down, and you do want to add more. I mean, I don't want them completely cardboard, but don't make them overly complex that you guys don't finish. And I'll do another insert edge loop on this guy, and then we'll grab the final points here, hit the R key, scale that down, And we can bend this now. We can use a bend deformer or simply just go in here and rotate this. Add another insert edge loop. So, leaves aren't perfect. They have their days. Like maybe he's having a bad leaf day. We can fold it by hitting rotate on the edges itself. Or simply go to the vertices here. Oh, grab the wrong one. Grab the vertices here. Rotate that. And there we have the beginning of a leaf that we could shove a bunch of them. Make sure you unwrap it first because you don't want to have to unwrap every single one. Planar map unwrap them in once you divided them up in flat mode. You can even planar map them here, but it'll have to be unwrapped, unfolded a little bit. And we'll just move the position of this guy by hitting the insert key. Keep your finger in the V key and snap that to the very edge. Insert key again. And then now we can move this guy into place. Now watch this. And we can place him. I hit the wrong hotkey there. Pull up. We can V key. There we go. And we can place this right on the plant itself. And you can have a series of these right in there. Now mine's not scaled down enough at the tip, but you can make a bunch of these. I'll do Control D. Hit the E key. Move that around. Move that down. And look, you have a couple leaves for a believable plant that actually has a root in its stem. Now if you wanted to do these, you could still cheat and use these guys. And I mean cheat in a good way. Move this down. Hit the E key. And we can rotate these up and put a bunch of them right next to each other, kind of coming out like a fern from a base. Alright, so that's about it with this one. Hope that helps you out. And that's it.